Today in How It's Made SSLW castings. SSLW stands for Sodium Silicate Lost Wax. SSLW castings have a lot of advantages like complex shapes and accurate tolerance in comparison with other casting methods, but there could happen also a lot of problems during this process. In this movie we will show how the castings are made and what could go wrong, step by step. 70% of the castings from prints are SSLW. 70% of the SSLW castings are made in Ningbo, in China. Let's start with the process. First, it's very important that they clean the pattern very good, otherwise they are old, rest of wax in the pattern and the shape of the wax part is not good. After they clean the pattern, they will assemble the pattern. It's very important that they assemble also the pins of the pattern very good. What is good to know is that the work is getting paid by quantity, not by quality. Now they're gonna fill the pattern with wax. They put the wax piston in a fill hole in the pattern and clean the control hole to the upper side of the pattern. It's very important that the wax input pressure is high enough, otherwise there will be problems with the marking or the shape. After a few minutes the worker takes out the model. The pattern will be dismantled. Then they can get out the wax part out the pattern. The worker used compressed air to blow the wax part out of the pattern. This step needs to be done very carefully, otherwise the wax part will damage or deform. It's also important that the wax part is cool and strong enough, otherwise it will deform. Then they have to remove the burrs on the wax part. She has to be very careful because if she removes too much, the marking or shape is not good. If she removes too less, then there will be burrs on the casting. Tree making. Here they weld the wax part in the tree. Sometimes they place more wax part on one tree, but that depends on the size of the wax part. The workers have to watch out what the wax part is welded on the right place of the tree. Otherwise there would be problems with pouring because the wrong place of the feeder. We have shell making. During the shell making, the workers put the wax trees in a bed slurry and later they do the tree in a bin with ceramic particles. The first layer is very important. If this layer of the shell is not good, the casting will not have the same shape as the wax part and also determines the surface quality. After this, the workers hang out the trees in an automatic line for several layers of shell. The shell becomes rougher at every step. De-waxing. After the shell making, the wax needs to be removed. The workers hang the shell in the crane. The crane lets the shell sink in the cooking bath. After a few minutes, all of the wax is removed of the shell and the crane lifts the shell up. Heating of the shells is very important. During this process, all of the water will be removed out the shell. The shells need also be heated to prepare for pouring. Preparation for pouring. First step is a visual control of the shells. They need to be cleaned. After this, the shells will be buried in a place with sand. The workers need to be sure that the shells are placed good. This is a simple weigh scale to add the material. Now they need to add all the scrap materials as asked in the casting requirements. After the preparation, they pour one test block. After cooling, they test the chemical composition of the batch on a spectrometer. This test has to be done very accurate, otherwise it could be that all the castings have the wrong chemical composition. After agreement of the right chemical composition, they start to pour. They fill the pouring buckets and walk to the shells. Then they fill the shells with metal. The workers have to pay attention to the right temperature of the metal and the right speed of pouring. The workers do this all on experience. after pouring they make a test block for reports. Here the workers shake the shell of the casting. Also they cut the castings of the tree. It's very important that they cut the parts on the right place of the tree, otherwise the casting will get damaged. Other worker grinds the feeder of the casting. Also other burrs will be removed. He has to watch out that he grinds not too deep and damage the casting. Shot blasting is a very important step in the process. The whole shape of the casting has to be shot blasted, otherwise there are spots with a different surface. Heat treatment is also a very important step of the SSLW process. They have to heat treat the casting because of the hardness. It's very important that the castings are thoroughly heated. The castings have to be calibrated because sometimes the casting will deform a bit by heat. The workers have special gouges to place in the casting to calibrate, but they have to be careful, otherwise the casting will get damaged. The most important thing of machining is the design of the clamping tool, even if all is okay. Any deformation in the rough part could lead to out of tolerance part. Most inner defects will be found during machining. This would lead to scrap. The first inspection is visual inspection. Here the inspectors look at the shape of the casting and the possible obvious defects. Sometimes they also use a gouge to see if the casting is good. After the visual inspection they will do a dimensional inspection. They have a lot of tools to do this. Here we see a 3D dimensional meter. For inspection of the inner defects they do UT. They do also MPI. If there are defects on the surface, then you can see it with MPI. There are two kinds of anti-corrosion treatment. One on oil-based and one on water-based. If the castings needs to be coated, then they cannot use oil-based. After all these steps, the castings will be transported to the LTC to inspect. Transport is always in an open truck, so easily can be damaged. In the LTC we do the inspection by the AQL system. This refers to acceptable quality limit. So we inspect the percentage of the pallet in all layers, so not only the upper layer. First we do the visual inspection. The inspectors look at the shape, the holes and the surface. Then the inspector will check the microstructure. Also the chemical composition will be checked by the inspector. If castings are approved by the Prince LTC inspector, then he will pack the pallet and close the VCI bag. If the shipment is arranged, the container can be loaded. As the container is loading outside, there's always a chance of raining damage. The container is on sea. After average 30 days the cargo will arrive in the harbor of Rotterdam.